All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you all are having a good day so far. So I was checking out Johnny Arnett's channel, and there's another one that caught my eye that I haven't checked out yet, so I wanted to react to with you guys. This one's called The Greatest Michael Jordan What If... to me. So he makes it clear this is his opinion. I have no idea what the context is. I don't know what this video is about, like even subject wise, so this should be pretty interesting. But I like how he specifies to me. So I'm curious what this entails. But anyways, you guys, I hope you all are having a good day. Still summer over here, but it's starting to wind down slowly but surely. The nights are getting cooler. At least the nights are dropping down to like the 70s, but the days are still like 100 something degrees. So it's been rough. But anyways, without further ado, I'm going to link the original video down below in the description. So if you want to check it out without my commentary, go right ahead. Everybody else, please leave this video a like. Let's pump it out to the moon. And, oh man, sounds like a pump and dump. Anyways, let's do this. Buy my new crypto. The real mind crime.
As all of you know, Michael Jordan is the most iconic basketball player of all time. And most people agree that he's the greatest player of all time.
Sorry, just because some people don't understand humor, I don't have a crypto. I'm not selling a crypto. Just making that shit clear.
So naturally, there's going to be a lot of speculation and what-ifs tied to his career. And the list of those go on, and I've talked about those for hours on this channel. But if you ask me, the greatest Michael Jordan what-if is one that is very rarely talked about. It wasn't about Jordan's first retirement, it wasn't about his second retirement, and their chance at winning a 7th championship. But
okay, I'm gonna guess. Because to me, this is the greatest what-if. What if he went to the Lakers? Or what if he went to Portland instead of the Wizards? Like if he didn't buy part ownership, and I think I might be onto something because I see half of the screen right now. That's always been the greatest what if to me. I'm glad he didn't do it because then he would have been a ring chaser. But he could have joined Pippen in Portland, or he could have joined Phil along with Kobe and Shaq in LA. And just stacked some more rings. But that's what the greatest what if has always been to me.
But for me, it was actually about his return in his Wizards years. Listen, I'm fully aware that most people are not going to agree with me about this being his greatest what if. But for me, this one is just the most fascinating. So here's the deal. This is an article from 2005, and from an interview, Jordan was quoted to say that he felt used by the Washington Wizards organization.
Oh, yeah. From what I understood back then, because he was part owner, right? In order to become an active player for the Wizards, he had to sell his ownership stake. And then once he was done playing, which was so crazy because he built up the brand of the Wizards. Like, they were one of the hottest teams in the market because they had Michael Jordan. So they got a lot of notoriety, and they made a lot of money during that time. Then they didn't want to sell him his shares back. That's what I always understood it to be, and that is totally using him because here he was trying to build up the brand, and the other owners got to reap the financial reward for that while Jordan was selling out the arena night after night after night and selling jerseys like crazy. Like they made a lot of money off of Michael Jordan. And then they were like, nah, man, you're not going to come back and be the owner. So that's why he ended up with the Bobcats.
You see, MJ was the team's general manager before he stepped down to play with the team. And Jordan assumed that as soon as his 2 years were done playing with the Wizards, he would then assume his position as an executive for Washington. Unfortunately, Abe Pollin, who was the owner of the organization, decided to cut ties with Michael Jordan almost immediately after he was done playing.
Was I wrong? I thought he did have a small ownership stake as well, but perhaps I was wrong about that one.
This led MJ to say that if he knew that he was going to be used this way by Abe Pollin, and that he wasn't going to be resuming his general manager position after his playing days were done, then he wouldn't have come back to play for the Washington Wizards in the first place.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
That's where the what if comes in. Because if MJ didn't come back to play for the Wizards, who would he have played for instead? Now, some might theorize that Michael Jordan would have just remained retired. And although that is certainly a possibility, I think that is extremely unlikely.
I do too.
MJ has been vocal about the fact that one of the motivating factors for him coming back to play was to prove that he could still compete against some of the best players in the game.
Yeah, for sure. And he only retired because the Bulls blew up the team and fired his coach. Like, he was not ready to retire yet. So he definitely did have more game in him. But I'm curious what Johnny has to say, because my votes are Portland and LA. Mainly
and he
LA.
Described it many times as having an itch. He just had that itch that he had to scratch. He had to come back to play the game of basketball professionally because he still believed he had something left in the tank.
It's like the sixth Rocky movie, the one that's called Rocky Balboa. So by Rocky 5, he's like street fighting with Tommy Gunn. He's been retired, and he's his manager and trainer. But by the sixth movie, Adrian had passed away, and like he didn't really have, Mickey was gone, and he didn't really have any direction anymore, like no goals, no motivation. So he comes back out of retirement to do like a celebrity fight, like a charity fight. And what he says, I'll always remember, because I saw it, as a young man. He has more in the attic. He's got some junk in the attic. He's got to let out. He's got to let this out. And that fight was able to allow him to let that out, because he still had some gas left in the tank. And for me, that was always what Michael Jordan was doing. And heck, I think the movie came out right around this time as well. So Jordan just had some more junk in the attic, and he needed to prove himself, prove that he still got it.
Personally, I think that itch would have been too strong for MJ to ignore. To know that answer for sure, you'd have to ask MJ. Mm-hmm. And honestly, if I could ever confront him, that would be the question that I would ask him.
Yeah, me too.
If you didn't come back and play for Washington, would you have come back to play at all? And if you did, what team would you have played for?
Man, we got to find Ahmad Rashad and get him drunk. He's got this information in his brain, because him and MJ they've been homies since at least the early 90s. Heck, Ahmad was saying like every week they were watching The Last Dance together, like sitting next to each other on the couch watching the episodes come out. Like they're big time like family friends basically at this point.
Today, that's what that video is about, as I'm theorizing which team Michael Jordan would have returned to play for if he didn't come back to play for the Wizards. Now, first off, let me address the teams that Michael Jordan definitely would not have gone to. First off is the Washington Wizards.
Agreed.
Naturally, because that's what this video premise is about. The second team is the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, for sure.
And this might seem surprising to some, but not really once you understand the context.
Oh, yeah.
At the time, Jerry Krause was still the general manager of the Chicago Bulls, and him and MJ famously had a very tumultuous relationship. There is absolutely no way that Michael Jordan comes back to play for Jerry once again.
No, like if he rehired Phil, maybe. But then by that point, the whole team blew up anyway, so I don't think he would even then. Can I just point out that the Bulls organization missed out on a huge opportunity with Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan should still be the face of Chicago, and he is, but like not in person. But he should have been the face of Chicago for the Bulls organization for the rest of his life. They should have treated him much better. And, putting up a statue in the front, like that's cool and all, but it's nothing compared to what he gave you. And whether it was an ownership stake or a GM spot or whatever it is, I would have kept Michael Jordan in my organization for the rest of his life, or at least the rest of my life, because that's somebody, you think of Michael Jordan, you think of the Bulls. You think of the Bulls, you think of Michael Jordan. And it's also good for business, but it's also just the right thing to do. He didn't have to go to these other teams to get an ownership stake. You could have sold him 10% of the team. Anyways, I'm going on a rant here.
The Bulls also still had Tim Floyd as their head coach, which is the guy who was being groomed to replace Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
And Krause pushed out Jackson for that replacement. This entire situation would be repulsive to MJ. No matter how strong his itch was, I think Jordan would rather remain retired than come back and play for this organization at that point.
Oh yeah, no, loyalty is huge for him.
The third team that MJ definitely would not have came back to play for is the Indiana Pacers.
Nah, you already got a starting shooting guard in Reggie Miller.
Michael Jordan did have a friend on that squad, which was Reggie Miller, and maybe that would have been a nice merger for the two veteran stars. But the ultimate deal breaker was the fact that Isaiah Thomas was the head coach of the Pacers at that point.
Oh, good point.
Everyone knows that Isaiah and Michael had a bitter rivalry on the court.
Holy shit, could you imagine Isaiah Thomas coaching Michael Jordan? That would be a nightmare.
And still hold harsh feelings towards one another even to this day.
Yep.
There's absolutely no way that Jordan would have embraced a situation where Isaiah Thomas is an authority figure above him. The fourth and final team that I can say with certainty that Jordan wouldn't have come back to play for was the New York Knicks.
All right, I want to hear his reasoning for this. I never thought about this. Would he? The New York Knicks fans love him to this day. Like, they would give him standing ovations, you know, like, even though he's playing for the enemy team, for the opponent. Like, they would stand up and cheer for MJ. He earned all of their respect.
Yes, at some point there was some connections and some rumors between Jordan and the Knicks. But that was before the situation happened with Jeff Van Gundy.
Yeah, he took it personal.
Van Gundy was still New York's coach at that time, and Michael was really known to hold grudges. And after Van Gundy's famous con man comments about Michael Jordan several years earlier, I would really have a hard time seeing MJ trusting Van Gundy again in any kind of coworker relationship. As we all know...
All right, yeah, I'm with Johnny on this one. He's got a damn good point. It's true. He even in his Hall of Fame speech, he had to take a jab at Jeff Van Gundy. So that was personal, probably still to this day, because Jeff Van Gundy was accusing Jordan of like fraternizing with the Knicks in order to soften them up so that he can beat them more easily, which is like the funniest thing ever, honestly. But Jeff Van Gundy, I bet he would take it back if he could now.
Michael is a guy who will cut all ties completely if you say something against him personally. Look at his relationship with Charles Barkley as an example.
Yeah.
So now that I've addressed all the teams that Michael Jordan would not have come back to play for, who were the most likely teams that he would have come back to play for? First off, the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yep.
At the time, the Lakers had just won back-to-back NBA championships and were looking to complete a three-peat.
And this one makes the most sense to me because you got your coach, he's running the triangle. You're going to play shooting guard. You got, I don't know if they had D-Fish at this time. I think they did have D-Fish at the time. But either way, whatever, you got a point guard, shooting guard, small forward right here in the block because Kobe wasn't in the block that much. He was more of an ISO player. And then you got the big man down below. I mean, I could see Jordan just having to put up like 20 points a game and stacking rings like crazy. Just being like the leader of the team, but not having to finally, for once in his career, not having to average 30 freaking points a game in order for his team to have a chance, because he'd have a young Kobe and a prime Shaq dominating. This is the greatest what if in my mind, because this would have been almost like a cheat code. In my opinion, it all would fall right into place. The only thing that could stop it is if Kobe wasn't passing to MJ. But I think between MJ and Phil, they would have had a good impact on young Kobe to just run the offense, and your opportunities are going to come. MJ would know this dude wants to shoot. So, give me the ball in the post. He'll get a double team, dish it back out to Kobe, take a shot. I really think it would have worked.
Obviously, there would have been some pre-existing chemistry, considering the fact that Phil Jackson was the Lakers' head coach. He also could have embraced a mentorship role over a young Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
And I'm sure Kobe would have embraced that as well.
For sure.
Obviously, he'd be immediately competing for a 7th NBA championship ring. But it's tough to say whether Jordan would have wanted to join a team that had already done everything that was needed to win championships. Yes, he could reconnect with Phil, he could be teammates with Shaq, and he could mentor Kobe. But would he accept a role as a third option on a team that was already a champion?
That's true, though. Johnny, I forgot about that. They already won a ring by this point. Because in my mind, it's always like, what if he came right out, like he never truly retired. He just signed with the Lakers because he was on 1-year deals with the Bulls. So when he left the Bulls, in my mind, it's always been, what if he would have just gone to the Lakers the second that Phil went to the Lakers, basically. Because then they weren't champions yet. They weren't champions until they had Phil. So... But you got a point. If he followed the same script that he did in Washington, then by that point the Lakers were champions, and I think that would be really hard for Jordan. I don't think Jordan could do that. Tell you the truth. All right, I know where you're going with this, Johnny. You're going to Portland, aren't you? And I think you're probably right. I think that would make the most sense if everything followed the same script.
It's tough to say. The second team that he may have gone to is the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yep.
He had some familiar faces on that squad, as Scottie Pippen and Steve Kerr were on the Blazers at this point.
Oh, I forgot Kerr was
and
there.
And yes, Portland was a championship contender in the early 2000s. But heading into the 01 to 02 season, Portland was kind of on the downswing, as Arvydas Sabonis was no longer on the roster, and much of the team was really getting up there in their basketball years. There was also a lot of negative media attention around the Blazers at this point, and they had even been nicknamed the Jailblazers for some time, due to all the issues that they were having off the court. It's tough to say whether Michael Jordan would have been okay getting a squeaky clean image involved with that organization. Plus, it's also tough to say what his relationship was exactly like with Scottie Pippen at this time. Would Pippen have even embraced MJ at that point? Regardless, I think there's enough evidence to say that he would at least have to consider it.
All right, that's a good point, because at this point, this was like a high ego Scottie Pippen. And that kind of led to some problems in Houston, because he was out there trying to prove he's the man. And yeah, Johnny's got a point, because he might have had some conflicts with MJ at that point, because he didn't want to be the number 2 guy anymore. I mean, heck, I think that's what caused a lot of conflict between him and Charles Barkley, was because they both wanted to be the number 1 option, and they weren't. They fought each other.
The third team that Michael Jordan could have joined is actually the New Jersey Nets.
Interesting.
This would have been a really interesting situation, as they were a contender in the Eastern Conference. Rod Thorne was the general manager of the Nets at that time, and he was actually the man who drafted Michael Jordan for the Chicago Bulls in 1984.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Rod famously has had a close relationship with Michael Jordan, and there is even the rumor that MJ once told Rod that he wouldn't be on the Dream Team if Isaiah Thomas was on it. That may or may not be true.
Yeah, so did Scottie Pippen, and I think Magic Johnson, and probably Larry Bird, and a lot of players. A lot of players said the exact same thing.
But one thing that,
like, they didn't want to play with Isaiah. The majority of the team didn't want to, which is, like, the irony is Chuck Daly was his coach, and he was the USA basketball coach.
Is true is that Michael Jordan has a very exclusive circle of trust, and Rod was one of those guys who were in it. He would have been playing alongside of the best point guard in the game at that point, Jason Kidd. And they also had a strong power forward in Kenyon Martin. Jordan likely would have started ahead of the 6'10 small forward Keith Van Horn. If MJ decided to go back to Rod Thorne and play for the New Jersey Nets, I think they still end up making it to the NBA Finals.
I mean, with that kind of a lineup, he could have also played shooting guard if he chose to. But that just depends on what he decided his play style would benefit the Nets the most. It would be interesting to see a backcourt of Jordan and Kidd.
But they probably still end up losing to the Los Angeles Lakers, But this time, instead of being swept, they probably win a game or two. Regardless, the acquisition of MJ would do nothing about the Nets' inability to contain Shaq. The fourth and final team that I believe Michael Jordan could have returned to play for is actually the Orlando Magic. In the summer of 2001, the Magic signed Patrick Ewing on July 18th.
Oh yeah, that's his boy. Doc Rivers. You blew it, man. You could have had Tim Duncan over there.
Which was well before MJ made his official decision on where he was going to play. And Patrick was one of Jordan's best friends.
Yep.
So it's possible that MJ could have followed him there and have that be their final swan song together. MJ also could have embraced a mentorship role with the Orlando Magic superstar Tracy McGrady. Also consider the fact that Horace Grant returned to the Magic that season, which gives MJ yet another familiar face.
Damn, I forgot about that.
Figuring out the starting lineup for that group would have been difficult, since the team had T-Mac, Grant Hill, and potentially Michael Jordan, who are all shooting guards / small forwards. Eventually, the situation would have resolved itself, since Grant Hill only played in 14 games that season due to an injury.
Yeah.
My guess is that they probably make it as far as the Eastern Conference semis, before they were eliminated by Jason Kidd and a deeper New Jersey Nets team.
I don't know about that one, because if you still have T-Mac in his youth, like, even though T-Mac's taller, I would still have T-Mac at shooting guard. Stick Jordan in the 3 at the small forward position. I mean, that's a lot of offense. You have an old but still, reasonably effective Patrick Ewing down there doing the dirty work. I don't know. They could have beat the Nets. We'll never know, obviously. It's all speculation. But I think it wouldn't have been an easy task for the Nets to beat this Orlando team. I'm curious.
So ultimately, to get a real definitive answer, you'd have to ask MJ himself. But if you ask me, one of the 4 teams he would have returned to play for are the Los Angeles Lakers, the Portland Trail Blazers, the New Jersey Nets, or the Orlando Magic. In this situation, I believe the only scenario where MJ ends up winning a 7th championship ring is if he joined the Los Angeles Lakers, completing the three-peat from 2000 to 2002.
The Blazers is an interesting one, though, because the Blazers almost beat the Lakers without Jordan. So you add the Jordan effect, it could have been enough. But we'll never know.
Would it have meant much to his legacy? Probably not, considering that Shaq and Kobe were the clear engines of that squad. Still, it's cool to think about. So now I'll leave the question up to you guys. If Michael Jordan did not return to come back to play for the Wizards due to his soured relationship with the organization, which team would you have liked to see him come back to play for instead? And what do you think would have been the outcome? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
All right, video liked and subscribed, sir. Good stuff. I never heard the what if conversation involving Orlando or New Jersey, so cool angle to go here with that. But those are 2 very interesting ideas, because if they were contending for titles, either of these teams he was on, which I think they would be, Jordan might have stayed longer, but I don't think it was really worth it for him in Washington, because he was, there was no hope in winning. He already proved he can compete, and he was able to step away and walk away from it, knowing that there's no hope of winning more championships. And that's all Jordan cared about, was winning rings. So, but yeah, cool vid, cool angle. I still think it's either Portland or LA. But like I said, LA, it might have been too late, because he doesn't want to piggyback onto a championship team. So he'd be more likely to go to Portland, which is the team that's trying to beat the champions, to dethrone the champions. And how interesting would that have been? Got Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, and what did Johnny say? I think Johnny said Steve Kerr was on there too, versus Phil Jackson, and the new Jordan, whatever, the next Jordan and Kobe, and a prime Shaquille O'Neal. That would have been fun. That would have been hella dramatic, and sounds like something you'd only see in a movie. But I would have loved to see it. Anyways, everybody, let me know what your thoughts are. What do you think the best choice for him would have been as far as like success? And we know success to Jordan is championships, not stats. So what do you think the best option for his success would have been? And then him on like a personal level, knowing what makes him tick, what do you think he would have picked just based off that? All right, everyone, I'm out of here for now. Johnny, fantastic video. I will see you all in the next one. Please leave this video a like. Check out Johnny's channel if you like this video. One of my favorite basketball channels ever. And you can obviously see why with this. But yeah, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. If you do, I'll see you later for the next one. And I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful day and stay cooler than I'm staying. Peace out.